Hey, it's Friday. And what Friday is it? It is the Friday before your most productive week of the year. Yes, next week is Thanksgiving, and it's a super short week for most people. But you are here on Friday, November 20th on Litvak Leadership Live. And I'm here with my special guest, and dare I call him friend because I think of him as one, Steve Rizzo. How are you, Steve?
I am doing wonderful, friend. How are you?
I am doing great. I am so excited to have Steve on the show. I remember seeing Steve for the first time, and I'd probably seen him in a comedy special, but I was on a Bruce First In. I feel like Gittimer. Here we go. First in is Bruce Himmelblau. Himmelblau. And I remember seeing Steve being interviewed on Jeffrey Gittimer, for those of you who know Jeffrey Gittimer. And I remember thinking, boy, maybe one day I'll get to have a conversation with Steve. And now here we are. He's on my show. We've even had a conversation before this. So it's pretty amazing when you focus on moving forward what would happen. So Steve, let's jump into it a little bit. Reading through your LinkedIn, you were voted least likely to succeed, and then you succeeded huge in school. You went back to that school to teach. You became a professional comedian. You left that and became a professional, and I may be messing it up somewhat, left that and became a professional speaker and coach and pivoted and helped people to find their joy. So is there anything you can't do?
Yes, I have a very bad sense of direction. Seriously. But as far as I'm not tech savvy. But
okay.
Thanks for the compliment. I am not tech savvy at all. That's one of the things that I think at this point is making me really successful, is that I'm very aware of what I can't do.
Okay.
And I'm very aware of what I don't want to do. And that's just as important as knowing as what you can do and what you do want to do. So I delegate the stuff that I know is going to suck the energy right out of me. And I shouldn't even go as far as saying that I'm not tech savvy. I don't want to be. I know what I have to know. And then I have other people that can just do that stuff for me. I'll be honest with you, and this might surprise a lot of people. Maybe you can call me old school. I don't even like social media. I don't like getting involved with it. I don't like going on Facebook that much, but I know I have to. I realize how important it is in our business. I mean, it's crucial. And I'm familiar with it, and I do enjoy a certain amount, but I just can't. It's not one of my things in life that I get into that I would like to do.
So I want to ask you, because I was somewhat the class clown, underachiever in high school. And when I went to high school, we did not have anything that we voted on people for. I think we were in that la-la zone in the 80s where they got rid of that. But with you being voted most likely to not succeed, or most unlikely to succeed, was that something that inspired you to move forward? Was that something that made you think, I'll show you all? I mean, how did that affect you?
Well, that's a really good question, because it was voted least likely to succeed. It never made it to the yearbook. I was working as a custodian in my senior year in high school, and I was working at the school. It was a great job. And my area was the offices, the principal's office, the guidance counselor. And I saw these lists, these papers. They didn't have computers then. Really no one was using computers then. And I noticed on the list, it said, oh, wow, this must be the stuff that's going to go to yearbook. And I saw class clown, which I also made. I made, then there was best hair, most popular, and then it was most likely to succeed. Then I saw this list that said least likely, and it was about 12 or 13 people on the list, and I was one of them. I was in the top 3. Okay. Wow. And I'm going, wow. But apparently the teachers found out about that list, and they said, there's no way that's going to get in the yearbook. But what
Thank you.
surprised me was that a lot of my peers voted me as least likely to succeed. And it didn't bother me. I just laughed it off. At least I didn't think it did. But it was that on top of also in 8th grade when a guidance counselor told me I wasn't smart enough to go to college. And he said it in front of my mom and dad. I was 14 years old. And hearing that, and then I was put in a really slow class in 7th and 8th grade. It was an adjustment class. And something inside me said, I don't belong here. Maybe I was slow in learning and all, but to make my point, it wasn't until years later when I got out of high school and I realized that those negative labels were dictating the direction my life was going. And my philosophy was, don't try and you can't fail. If you don't try, you're not going to feel humiliated. You're not going, and I limited myself as to what I could do and what I couldn't do.
So what was the awakening moment when you stopped letting people, when you stopped standing still, letting other people move forward, that you decided to burst forth yourself?
It was my brother Michael, who is 100% disabled from the Vietnam War, and that's a whole episode in itself. But he was in a hospital for 7 months, and when he got out, he was only 95 pounds.
Wow.
The only man that ever survived that kind of wound in medical history, as far as they know. He's in journals and books and stuff. But to make a long story short, when he got out of the hospital, he was 95 pounds, and he said he was going to go to college, and we didn't think he'd be able to do it. And he did. He went at night to prove himself because he wasn't Mr. Whiz Kid in high school. He got straight A's at night. They let him go full time. And as he was going to school in his second year, he knew that I was taking a wrong turn and I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. And he actually demanded that I go to college with him while he was going to his classes, just to sit down in the classes with him. He got permission from the professors, and I sat with him every day for 2 weeks. And then he said, so what do you think? I said, yeah, this is pretty good. He goes, good. He said, follow me. He said, where are you going? Where are we going? He says, I'm signing you up for next semester. And I said, no, you're not. And he said, I'm not taking no for an answer. You're going to do what I'm saying. And he was like, he's like a second father to me. And he signed me up for 4 classes. And he saw how nervous I was. They were very easy classes. I remember it was a history class, an English class, an art class, and a music class. He didn't want to overwhelm me. He just wanted me to be familiar. And he looked at me. Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, if I can do this, you can do this. I went, I pushed the fear aside, and I just had a blast. I got straight A's in those 4 classes. And from there, I just went gangbusters. That was it. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I had some problems, but
So what made you choose to go back to that same high school first, what made you choose to teach and become a guidance counselor?
Well, I always wanted to be a teacher, and that's what happened in 8th grade when my guidance counselor said to me, he said, what are your aspirations? I said, I want to be a teacher. He said, I don't think so. You just don't have what it takes. That's what he said right in front of my mom and dad. So I graduated with degrees in education, English, master's in theater arts, minor in psychology. And I just had an opportunity. One of the superintendents of the school called me up and said, I heard you graduated. And my brother at the time was principal of the high school. So,
okay.
So I went and I taught, and then I was a counselor for kids with behavioral problems. And I just fell in love with them. I mean, it was a cool thing, Sean, too. They put me, 2 of the classes that I taught were the slow classes that I was in.
Oh,
and wow. I had such a profound emotional attachment to these kids. I mean, if I could have, I would have taken them all home with me, and I would have done more than what I could have done, what I did do with them. And
you were able to show them that, I was sitting where you are now, and here I am teaching you.
Yeah, basically, very good. That was exactly what I said in so many words, so many times. And I think the amazing thing to that is that that was 40 years ago. And I'm still on Facebook with a lot of my students from back then.
So,
You know?
Helen wants to know, since you're still on Facebook with a lot of your students, what about those other people on that list? Do you know what happened to any of them?
Um, well, quite a few of them are dead or they're in prison.
Okay,
I hung out with the tough crowd. I hung out with the tough crowd.
I
Okay,
guess so.
I really did, and a lot. No, but some of them did excel in their own way. You know, and I often wondered uh, what would have happened to me if it hadn't been for my brother, if it hadn't have been for that spark, and what would have happened to some of these people if they just had that same spark that I had. Even and to this day, when I teach to education groups, the number one thing that I make a point on, it's not that important. It's very important to congratulate a student and push them and bring out their talents. But the most important thing is you got to be careful what you really say to them, because even the slightest negative thing could instill such a toxic label that they probably heard so many times before, but hearing it from someone like you could really reinforce that label, and they could take that with them forever.
So what got you to leave education and go into professional comedy? Because it sounds like you really enjoyed education.
Well, to go to college, I had to pay my own way, so I played the guitar, and I had it was a duo. My friend Jack and I, we to make money at night to pay for college, and I'm almost every night. We played the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We became really well known. I made a lot of money. I mean, I really. And in between sets, I was doing funny things. I did impressions. I would do Bob Dylan singing Elvis Presley songs, and I would have the audience yell at a movie star. Then I would do the impression of the star singing the song, and I had some people from Catch a Rising Star and the improvisation asking me to audition at their club, and I said, "There's no way I'm doing stand up. There's absolutely no way I'm doing that." So, to make a very long story short, the guy that I was playing music with, he passed away from drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and I decided to try out at the clubs on Long Island to do stand up, and this is as I was teaching full time, and it was going very well. I already had my act set up because I was doing it in the music thing, and I became really good. And then all of a sudden, clubs started opening up in the early '80s all over the country: Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Iowa, places that you would never even dream of.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to quit the school system and do this full time. And everyone thought I was crazy. And I did. And I headlined immediately. And I started headlining clubs throughout the country. And that's how that took over.
And you just, so when someone's a professional comedian, are they driving from place to place, or you flew?
No, I flew. I flew. There were some places, like if I was in Omaha, four of us comedians would fly from Omaha to Des Moines, Iowa, which is a 2.5 hour drive. And it was one of probably the most exciting time in my life. It was you talk about a confidence booster, there you are being voted least likely to succeed, right? And now you're headlining with the sold out shows everywhere you go. As a matter of fact, when I did my Showtime special, Woody Harrelson was the host of my show. And my introduction was, we're going to bring up a guy now who was voted least likely to succeed in his senior class in high school. And now he has his own Showtime special at the Sands Hotel in Atlantic City. Let's have a big round of applause for Steve Rizzo. And I was going, yeah, baby. And I kicked ass on that show too. Yeah, because he came back in the green room and I'm waiting there. He goes, you know what? I don't have an introduction for you. This was the night before we were going through my whole performance. He goes, what do I say? And I said, tell him you got to bring up a guy who was voted least likely to succeed in his senior class in high school, and now he's here. And he did. And he thought that was the coolest thing. So
that's a great introduction.
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah.
Yes. Now, so
the way he said it was brilliant, actually.
So then you pivoted yet again, and at the height, as I understand it, of your comedy career, you decided to go into motivational speaking, coaching, and corporate training, right?
Yeah. By the way, I love your questions. You're really good at this.
Well, thank you.
Um, well, here's the segue to this. I thought I had all that fear crap under my belt and inside and wasn't going to come back. Well, those negative labels came back with a vengeance in my comedy career. And let me tell you why. And I'm going to make a long story short.
Okay.
To really make it big in the comedy business, even though I was headlining and I was very well known, I was
Right.
headlining everywhere, and very few comics wanted to follow me, or they just didn't want to do it. It was good.
Because all the laughter was gone after you were on stage.
Exactly, which is one of the reasons why they had
No one had anything left to laugh.
Yeah, and a lot of people say I never paid my dues because I started in the business and I headlined right away. It's just that no one don't tell me I didn't pay my dues. But wait, let me tell you what happened. So to make it in the business, in the comedy business, especially back then, you had to station yourself at a Los Angeles club or a New York club, because that's where the entertainment industry is looking for stars for sitcoms, for commercials, for movies. Okay. So every time, and I had a manager and I had an agent, and I had a publicist. Every time there was an audition at the Comedy Store, or the Improvisation, or the Laugh Factory in California, they would try and set it up for me, and I would go, "Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm booked in Des Moines, Iowa that weekend, or I'm booked in Chicago." And any other comedian would have said, "Oh my God, I'll jump at the chance for an audition in front of the people." Well,
You had integrity.
Yes, I had fear of being exposed to an audience full of industry people.
Ooh.
I had a fear of failure and success. And I didn't realize what I was doing to myself because I had a perfect escape for that. I said, well, I'm already booked here and I'm making a lot of money. Why would I want to go and not make any money just to become a big star? So when I realized what I was doing and the fear that I had, and then when I finally started auditioning, I realized that the whole place is packed with directors and movie producers and casting agents. The fear came back with a vengeance. And I just said, wow. I said, this is insane. All right. Then I just said, I am not going to let this get the best of me. And I went on a quest to better myself. I read every self-help book you could think of. I went to sleep. That's when I had cassette players with headphones, reinforcing affirmations. I went to Tony Robbins seminars. And through the years, it took a couple of years, this major change, this shift took over me, and my confidence level, my belief system was skyrocketed.
And you had been a huge success already.
Yeah, on the road. But I wasn't known by the industry. And if the industry does not know you, you're not going anywhere.
Okay.
You're not going anywhere. So I had to station myself in California. And when I finally did that, my roommate was Drew Carey finally, when I was there. I had to station myself in California and go through this process and fight the fear as I was doing it. So as I'm building my confidence, everyone's noticing this difference in me. But something started happening. I started saying, wow, this motivational stuff really excites me. It's doing something for me. And it was at a Tony Robbins seminar where I went to a few of them, and I even got to know him. And there he is with thousands of people commanding an audience, and he's making people laugh. And he's giving them life lessons. And I pick up my pen unknowingly, and I have this pad, and I'm writing. I didn't even remember writing it. And I write, I could do this. That's what I wrote down. I put the pen down. 10 minutes later, I pick up the pen up. I go, I should do this. And I swear to you, Sean, I didn't even know I was writing that. 20 minutes later, I write, damn it, I'm doing this. I still have this paper hanging over in my room, in another room, and glass right. And that was it. Something clicked. And I knew somehow, some way I was going to become a motivational speaker, and gradually through the years that shift took place. So
wow.
Yeah.
So you made that shift over the years. So how did you start finding clients and marketing yourself?
Well it just fell in my lap. Okay, here's another story. We do have time, right? All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a 30-minute show.
Okay.
We'll make it. We're at 20 minutes. We're doing good.
Well, we're going over. Okay. So
Yeah.
anyway, what about my needs? All right. Okay. I finally made the decision. Here I am. Half the year, I'm living in an apartment with Drew Carey in
Right.
LA. All right. And I have my house in Long Island. I'm married at the time. And Drew knew that I was delving into the motivational thing. And one day I came home from an audition. He looks at me, goes, "Hey, man, how did your audition go?" I said, "It went pretty good." He goes, "What do you want to do for dinner?" I said, "Drew," I said, "you do what you want." I said, "But I got something to tell you. I'm leaving stand-up and I'm going back home to Long Island and I'm going to become a motivational speaker." And we had this big argument because at that time he said to me, he goes, "How could you quit now? You're so close to making it." And I said, "Well, how could I be so close to something I don't want anymore?" All right. So I left. I was scared. I didn't know. I called my wife. She knew. I said, "I'm coming home." I packed everything. And that next week, I told my manager, my agent, abruptly. They had no idea what the hell I was doing. They begged me to see a psychologist. My manager was going to sue me for all the time and money he put into my career. So I said a prayer before I left. This is the weekend that I'm leaving. And the prayer was, please let me know that I'm making the right move. I spent 20 years of my life, dedicated myself to this, and now I'm going to go do something else. I don't know how to do this. And if this is what I'm supposed to do, send me to somehow, some way, someone that can help me get into this business. That night, I'm on a flight from Los Angeles to JFK, and I'm sitting next to this guy. I'm in first class sitting next to this guy who was very distinguishing looking and a grayish beard and an incredibly expensive suit. And he's staring at me and he's looking at me and I'm going, damn it, I hope he doesn't start a conversation with me. I do not want to talk to anybody. She goes, "I'm sorry," but he goes, "You look familiar." And I said, "Yeah, I guess maybe you saw me on my Showtime special because it had just aired 2 weeks before." He goes, "Oh yeah, you're Steve Rizzo." I said, "Rizzo." He goes, "Yeah, man, you're funny." And we talked about comedy. I shut up. I figured he's going to leave me alone. And then he looks at me a little bit. A few minutes later, he goes, "I'm sorry to interrupt you again." He goes, "But it seems like something's not right. Are you okay?" I said, "Well, it's very observant with you." I said, "Everything isn't okay." And I said, I made a decision and I don't know if it's the right decision. Something inside says it is, but now I'm getting nervous." He goes, "What is your decision?" I said, "I'm leaving stand-up." He said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I want to do something else." I said, "And there's something else that I want to do I know nothing about, but I know in my heart I'm supposed to do this. I've been thinking about it for years."
Mm-hmm.
And I said a prayer before I came here, before I went home, to send me something or someone that can help me get into this business. And he goes, "Oh my God, what is it that you want to do?" I said, "I want to become, I guess, what you would call a motivational speaker." And he starts laughing. And he's laughing. I'm thinking he's laughing at me because I'm leaving a career that I have a Showtime special. My career's right. I said, "What the hell are you laughing at?" He goes, "Well, I'm the answer to your prayers." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "My name is Al Perinello, and I'm the president of the National Speakers Association.
Oh,
And I'm going to help you launch your career." So to make a very long story short again, he literally took me by the hand. He invited me to their workshop that was in Charlotte, North Carolina. A week later, he introduced me to all these high-end people, the board of the National Speakers Association. The weirdest thing, Sean, is that these people knew me from either the Showtime special or performing in the theaters near their home or their comedy club. So I already had this niche.
and they were excited to see you. They were excited to meet you.
Yeah. So I come home from the 3-day meeting, and then I get a phone call on my answering machine. That's when I had answering machines. And it says, "Hi, I am so-and-so from the National Speakers Association. We would like to know if you would like to come to the big convention." That's 3,000 people. "And give a speech to the 200 top speakers in the country on how to add humor in their presentations." And I said, "I would love to." And I kicked ass. And all the speakers bureaus started giving me their business cards. And I started working immediately. That's how fast it happened. Yeah, that's what happened. Yep. All because I followed my heart. All because I followed my heart. And
So tell everyone, because this is a huge thing for people, whether they're older and pivoting, whether they're starting out in their career. How do you believe someone locates their why?
Oh, because it hits you all the time.
Okay.
When you're looking at something or you see someone else that has that why that you want, and you go, I should have done that, or I couldn't do that, or why didn't I do that? And usually that's how you find your why. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people, I won't say most, go on with great jobs maybe, but I'm not so sure it's their why. And that's another why in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because of family responsibilities, or maybe it's because of a lot of people think in order to find their why, they have to be the best at it, or they have to become famous in it. And I think that's bullshit. That is just bull, because then you're putting a stipulation on something that doesn't have to be. I was given a workshop not too long ago with this woman that just wanted to become an actress. And she was 54 years old. And I said, well, why don't you take acting classes now? Are there any schools near? She lived in the city in Manhattan. She said, yeah, they're all over the place. I said, why don't you take classes now? You could do. She goes, well, do you know how long it'll take for me to get any kind of a job on a commercial or to do dinner theater? I said, yeah, the same age you'll be if you don't do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Even if you get a small part in a dinner theater or you become a part of a theater, you can do it. And she did, by the way. And she does have parts right now doing dinner theater. They, believe it or not, they still have a little dinner theater in certain restaurants, and little plays she puts on with the group that she belongs to and stuff like that. So, it's hard to find your why. I think parents have to get out of their kids' way today and stop telling them that you have to follow in your mother or father's footsteps. And I know what's best for you, because kids have talent and you should be acknowledging that talent from the get-go, and you should be pushing that talent, whether it's to become an actor or a musician, a comedian, an artist, or an author, or whatever it may be. You should notice that talent. It's obvious. It's right there, instead of stopping them.
I've heard it preached before. When I've sat in a service where there's people need to follow their calling. So, and I think locating your why has a lot to do with understanding one's own calling. And I've heard it preached that there's a lot of preachers who really should be plumbers, and there's a lot of plumbers who really should be preachers.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're 100% right. There are a lot of people in all walks of life and all businesses that shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but that's life. That's life. But that why, man, that's a question that's really, really the thing that stifles people from finding their why is when they ask how too many times. You just take every step in that direction. I know people that would say they want to write a book, and the thing that stops them is as they're writing, they're going, well, how am I going to get a publisher? Or how am I going to get an editor? And that stops them. You don't worry about that. If you really want to write a book, write the book. Start writing. The hows come as every step evolves. It's that how that can stifle the why most of the time, and that's what you got to get out of your own way that way. Like how am I going to get? Well, just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
So we'll go over a little bit today, because I want to ask you. You've had so many careers. You've been so successful. So now, as you sit here in your current role, and with the experience behind you of so many things, how do you define success?
I gauge it as to how happy I am, and it has nothing to do with money. I've gotten to a point in my life where I lost almost everything, and I'm on my way back to getting it back. And I think when you're following your heart's desire, your passion, And you know, and my passion is to get my message out to the masses. And if I know I'm making that difference, and that brings joy to my life, and that is the part of success that most people are leaving by the wayside today. Because in my view, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how famous you are. Everyone in your circle can look at you as the ultimate success story. But the bottom line is this: if you're not happy, you're not successful. And if you're having a tough time enjoying yourself during the process of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, you're ripping yourself off. One of the things that amazes me more than anything else is that if you looked up the definition of success in any dictionary, nowhere in those definitions are the words happiness, joy, enjoyment. They're not there. They're not there at all. And that totally blows me away. The only thing that's there is to achieve a goal, to achieve that which you desire. That's it. And I've learned that the hard way.
Within a career.
And I take time out for me. There's a lot of people that say, and I respect what they do, but you got to work 24/7 and you got to work on the weekends. I'll tell you what, right after this, it's 3:30, and about 45 minutes from now, I'm leaving and I'm going to my favorite Italian restaurant, and I'm sitting at the bar with my friends. I'm going to have a couple of glasses of wine. I'm going to laugh my ass off. I'm going to talk. I'm going to have fun with people. And then I'm going to come home early. I take weekends out by myself. My team knows right now that I quit at 5 o'clock. I quit at 5 o'clock. Don't call me unless it's really, really important. I hire you because I know you can do the job. And if you don't think you can, tell me now. I'll get somebody else. But this is what I do. I spend time with my grandchildren. I spend time with my son, my daughter-in-law. And to me, at this point in my life, it never was years ago, but right now, that's what happy is to me. And taking care of myself, health-wise. I'm pretty much a health nut too, except for the wine.
But the wine is good. It helps with circulation, they say.
Oh, I agree. I like the way you think.
Stomach. That's what I hear. So, all right. So we've gone 32 minutes. Yep. And I know this next question will end up being more of a significant answer because that's how you roll. So when people walk away from this discussion, what impression do you want to leave on them?
That they are the creators of their success and happiness. That they are the only problems they will ever have, and somewhere within them, there is a solution. That it's not what happens to you that determines how successful or how happy you're going to be. It's what you do about what happens. It's that will formulate the belief that you.
That's great. That's true. And that's great. And how do I want to say this? Not have a personal accountability in their own success.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And even if someone did something to you, you can say, well, it's his fault. Okay, but now the problem's in your corner. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Steve, I don't want to keep you from your glass of wine. It's going to be the weekend for everybody soon. But hey, thank you so much for being on my show today. I truly appreciate it.
John, it was absolutely my pleasure. And I mean what you said. You're very good at what you do. I mean, the questions were perfect. You're friendly, and you're right. We are friends, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that greatly. So everyone, hey, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. If you want to get to it after 5, okay, Rizzo.com. There is a contact page there. There's a sizzle reel. There's all kinds of things to learn how you can engage with Steve. And I'm sure he'd love to help you. Litvak Leadership for another week. Wait, there's one more comment. It just popped up. Great show, gentlemen. Yeah, we always got to put up one of those when those show up. But it's the weekend. For me, it'll be the weekend soon enough. Not quite as early as Steve, but I'm getting there. But hey, enjoy yourself this weekend. Be blessed. See you.
Thanks again, Sean.